Following video is brought to you by the Boston Sports Entertainment Network. Please consider liking and subscribing for more Boston sports content.
The red, white, and blue. I can't lose with the red, white, and blue. My whole crew is the red, white, and blue. I represent the stars and stripes. I am a patriot, a true American. I am a champion, yes, and that's on everything. I will protect my home. I will defend, fighting tooth and nail to the bitter end. I don't play to lose, nah, I play to win. Rain, sleet, or snow in the wingland. What? Let me say it again. I play to win. What it is tradition. I'm in the game, playing like Brady. 10 soldiers deep in the field, no Navy. Riding for my soldiers and they riding for me. No matter where I touch down, it's a TD. 2 hands up, yep. Field goal.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pats Nation Nightly. It's been a little while, but we are back here to recap the first 6 days of New England Patriots training camp. But before we get into it, Ben, how are you doing today?
Good. It's definitely been a while since we have went live. I've been away for a few weeks or multiple weeks, and now just getting back in the getting back to where we were, I would say 3-4 months ago, streaming a few times a week. We haven't really been doing that consistently since the NFL draft. I was telling Zach last night I had to do a recap of all the latest Patriots moves in the last 6-7 weeks. 6-7. Had to build that in there. But in all seriousness, I'm excited to be back. I'm excited to be talking Patriots ball with Zach. The Patriots kick things off next Friday against Washington. So hopefully we get a few shows in there. And next week, kind of what we did last year with, getting on with some opposing teams, reporters and writers. Hopefully we can get back doing that next week, talking with some Commanders guys about what to expect in that game. But while we have you guys today, we're just going to talk about, training camp as a whole. Zach's been going multiple days, pretty much every single day, I want to say. So he is more knowledgeable than me right now, but we'll kind of have a conversation about what's been going on at Gillette.
2 minutes and 42 seconds in, and you're already clip farming. So I love that. Yep. Back like we never left. Speaking of back like we never left, Ken is back. Ken, camp, we'll get into the specifics of camp, but it has been going great. So I hope you've been well and glad to see you in the chat today. Starting out, though, just simple enough. We're going to start out with the offensive line because for me, that's kind of been the most interesting position. And it's not been a position I've been able to watch a ton. General public has been, if you've been to training camp, around where the general public sits, you kind of only have a view of the front field, and typically the offensive line and defensive line is mainly on the backfield where pretty much only media can see or get a decent view of it. But I've still been keeping up with everything on Twitter from different reporters, as well as being able to watch the O-line in 11-on-11s. So starting out, I'd say most importantly, starting offensive line has been Will Campbell, not surprisingly, Cole Strange, Garrett Bradbury, Mike Onwenu, and Morgan Moses. Ben, I mean, that is very kind of obvious information, but do you have anything just straight up on that with that starting group?
Yeah, I will say, and again, you're going to be more knowledgeable than me at this point. I've been seeing Jared Wilson has been playing really, really well recently and rotating some with Cole Strange at center and maybe a little at right guard too. I would like to see Caden Wallace again, continue to develop as he was a second-round pick last year. Third-round pick last year. Still brushing up. Apologize, guys. Third-round pick last year out of Penn State. Started for them. Played really, really well with them. So, obviously, I would like to see him develop. But, again, also, Moses left early today, right?
He did. So, Morgan Moses did leave early. He's kind of been dealing with something all of camp. Don't know exactly what it is. I think he's been limited for a few days. There was one day, Saturday, where he showed up late. He didn't show up to practice until 11-on-11s began, which is kind of towards the middle to end of practice. He was nowhere to be seen during individual position drills. So not exactly sure what's going on there. Probably not ideal that your 34-year-old right tackle is already dealing with injuries, especially with how poor their depth is at that position. Top backup for Morgan Moses has been Demontre Jacobs, who has had a solid camp, but last year started in a few games and looked pretty rough. So, and that's putting it kindly. So, not ideal to have Moses already dealing with injuries and missing a decent amount of time in camp.
Would you not have Caden Wallace back him up at right tackle?
I think they want to move him inside. He's basically only been at left guard, maybe right guard too, but I think primarily left guard. The rotation for left guard has been primarily Cole Strange, and then I'd say mainly after that, Jared Wilson with Caden Wallace then subbing in with them as well. All of those guys have seen some time with the first team between Will Campbell and Garrett Bradbury, or Strange and Wallace have seen time there next to Wilson at center. So
any time for Layden Robinson or no? Not a lot.
No, not at left at least. And I haven't been paying much attention to like second team, third team. But the first team rotation has been left tackle Will Campbell all the time. Left guard, Cole Strange, Caden Wallace, Jared Wilson. Center, Garrett Bradbury, Jared Wilson. Right guard, Mike Onwenu, Jared Wilson. Right tackle, Morgan Moses. And when he's injured, Demontre Jacobs. But that's not like the same as, Bradbury and Wilson are fighting for a starting job. Strange, Wallace, and Wilson are fighting for a starting job at left guard. Right tackle, it's Moses is the starter. If he's hurt, then that's when Jacobs is coming in.
Gotcha. Makes sense. I definitely, it all kind of logistically makes sense. Again, like I just said, I wish Caden Wallace kind of at least bumps himself up to a stable backup this season, because injuries are bound to happen. But again, glad we got Campbell. Really can't complain about that, like we said. And Strange was one of the, as you noted here too, one of the offseason winners. Is he looking better in practice than he has previously?
Yeah, I mean, he's been solid, but he also didn't get as much time today, it seemed, as he has been in the previous days. Seemed like more of a focus on Caden Wallace. And I think that left guard job is just wide open. It seemed like Cole Strange was the leader the first few days, but now I could see Jared Wilson winning that job. Or honestly, my ideal scenario is get Jared Wilson at center, and whether it's Strange or Caden Wallace at left guard, let one of those guys play there. So I think that would be best for this team. And Strange has looked solid. Again, he was one of those off-season winners by Mike Vrabel, who dubbed, I believe it was 4 players, including Demario Douglas. So someone who had a good offseason, worked hard, but we'll see if that really ends up panning out. We're still early in training camp, only 2 days of full pads so far. I would assume tomorrow they're not going to be in full pads, and then back potentially in full pads on Friday for what Mike Vrabel described as a scrimmage. So that'll be really when I should be on those left guard candidates. Who's showing out, who's showing up, who is winning that job, because that's when it can be won and lost, is in this full speed, or what I hope is actually full speed scrimmage.
Yeah. And it seems like they're doing an okay job protecting May in these practices. Again, all of these things, especially at training camp, when you're not facing another team, is purely like you can't really look at it from a statistical standpoint just because you don't know what they're working on. You don't know if, sometimes on purpose they'll have a bigger gap in between the left tackle and the left guard, or the center and the right tackle, right? And to just simulate pressures and to simulate stunts and all that sort of stuff. And you don't exactly always know what's happening, which is why it's hard to tell how well they're going to hold up in a game and if this line is going to be better at protecting May than last year. But it is a good sign to see that Drake May has thrown 0 interceptions. I think I don't remember. Yeah,
that's right.
I don't remember seeing any interceptions thrown from Drake May, any reports of that. So that is good to see that they're at least giving him good windows.
Now, to be fair, I believe it was the first day of practice, he gave a gift to Jabril Peppers, who just dropped it completely. But other than that, I don't think there has been any even like remotely close to interception plays from Drake May. I know, again, throughout camp, he hasn't thrown any officially. I don't know how Jabril Peppers didn't catch the one on the first day of practice, because it was a gift, just straight up lobbed into his hands with no one even that close to him. And he just, I don't know if he took his eyes off of it or what, but
there's a couple of those last year.
Yeah. That one should have gone in the books as an interception for Drake May, but it didn't. So his stat sheet is still clean enough. Have been more incompletions last few days, but he's also been taking more shots, so that's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, definitely. And when is their first practice with another team?
Joint practice is next Wednesday with the Commanders. So that'll just be one practice. And then after that, they're going to be having I think one practice, maybe two, with the Vikings. So that'll be good to see as well. Commanders is going to be a much bigger test. That'll also be in front of the Foxborough crowd. So I'll be there to watch. All the other reporters will be there to watch. Minnesota, I'm not making it to that one, but that'll be good to see. That's some real competition before a preseason game, with the actual game coming on Friday.
Yeah, definitely. And that is going to be, again, preseason games are hard to tell, but hopefully, and I think Mike Vrabel usually has his starters in for 1 or 2 series. At least he did with the Tennessee Titans when he was the coach of them a few years back. But I would definitely expect to see the starters in for the Patriots Friday night, next Friday. So moving on just a little bit, staying with the offense here, how has the receivers looked? And that is definitely, it always is with the Patriots. But it's definitely roster questions coming down to that 7th spot, if they even have any, but definitely that 6th spot.
I'll say the receivers have looked much better than they have in years prior. Stephon Diggs looks legit. Demario Douglas looks legit. I think Kyle Williams looks pretty legit. I would say he had a better start to camp than he's had in the past couple of days, but that's fine. You know, it's not that big of a deal. You're going to have better days. You're going to have worse days. It's not that he's been bad the last few days. He just was very, very good in the first, 2-3 days. And now the last 2 days, he's just been good. Also, Kayshon Boutte, a guy who I didn't really expect to make the roster at first coming into camp, just because of some dynamics there with such a packed room and some potential concerns about effort with him. There's no way you can cut him now. He has looked pretty solid. I don't want to overstate it too much. I don't want to say he's been a superstar, but I think there's a real argument to be made that he's been the best receiver on the field. I know a lot of people have been saying Demario Douglas. I know a lot of people have been saying Stephon Diggs. I think for me, Booty's been in that conversation. Yesterday, he had, I believe it was 2 very good catches on Christian Gonzalez in goal line or red zone one-on-ones, which the defense is always at a disadvantage there. It's hard to do one-on-ones like that, but Booty ran clean NFL routes. I know a lot of the time in those one-on-ones we see what a lot of people call TikTok routes when you're making like 7 moves and juking and then spinning and then juking again and whatever. But no, Booty ran a normal route, got space on Gonzalez and made a couple of strong catches. So I think he's had a really solid camp. And then again, that room is getting rounded out by guys like Kendrick Bourne, Efton Chisholm, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker, and I feel like and Mac Hollins, but he hasn't been practicing. He's on PUP. So a lot of competition there. Baker has also been looking good, worked his way up, kind of started with the 3s and looking like he would just be a specialist if he were to make the team. Now he's been making some noise, got some time with the 1s, made a great catch, the play of the day today, throw by Joshua Dobbs, and he just mossed Marcellus Dye, like textbook definition moss, where he just went up and plucked it out of the air. So that was great to see. A lot of competition there. I'm excited to see how that room plays out. I think Polk and Baker do unfortunately end up getting cut, and then maybe Chisholm or Bourne, but they're making a case for themselves to stay on the 53-man roster.
Now, do you think that is the hardest position to predict, or do you think it's pretty set?
I don't think so. I don't think it's the hardest. Like, I would even say number 3 tight end is pretty tough to decide. And receiver, I think, will get harder over the next week or so, depending on how Javon Baker does. But going into camp, I think the expectation was, or maybe not going into camp, but after the first couple of days, it was Kyle Williams, Stephon Diggs, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte are locks. And then either you carry 2 or all 3 of Mac Hollins, Kendrick Bourne, and Efton Chisholm, with Hollins also probably being pretty close to a lock due to his ability as a special teamer, and also the fact that he got a 2-year deal with I think $3.5 million guaranteed. So if Javon Baker has a perfect camp and he has a great preseason, maybe that's when it starts getting tough. And that's when you start predicting or projecting, oh, do we take Baker in over Bourne? Do we take Baker in over Chisholm? Do we have only 2 roster spots, or do we have 3 to carry Baker, Bourne, Chisholm, and Hollins? Like, how's that going to work out? So I think for now, it's not the hardest position to predict, but in a week, I could see that being the case, just solely based off of how Javon Baker performs.
Yeah, makes sense. Now, another question I have is there any players that stand out either in a positively or negatively way, negative way? I don't know why I say negatively. Negative way.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. That you didn't think that is kind of more, I don't want to say this, extreme than you believed, that you would have believed coming into training camp. Sorry, that was like such a loaded question, and it meant to be very simple.
You're good. It's kind of a gimme, but I gotta go Jared Wilson. I didn't think I believe he was injured in the spring, so we didn't really get to see where he would be plugging in the spring. And now it's summer, and he's been getting pretty legit time at left guard, center, and right guard. And he's made the most out of it. Today, for example, when I read this, I was shocked. I had to show it to like everybody around me, because again, we're not able to really see offensive line, defensive line one-on-ones from where the general public is. But in one-on-ones today, Jared Wilson went 3-0, with those wins being against Milton Williams and Christian Barmore twice. This dude's a third-round rookie, and he went 3-0 against Pro Bowl caliber guys. That's ridiculous.
Wow.
So seeing how he's been performing and also where he's been performing, like those are two pretty open spots, but I didn't think they would be open enough that he would be making a week 1 push for them. I thought they were kind of like open, but maybe he gets the starting job in like week 4 if Cole Strange plays bad or if Garrett Bradbury plays bad. Based on how he's been doing in camp, it would be blasphemous to not put Jared Wilson in the starting lineup week 1. So that's my pick. Again, it's somebody that all of Patriots Nation, I feel like, has been hearing about the last few days, but it's well-deserved. There's a reason why he's been the talk of the town, because he has been playing just ridiculously well for a guy who missed out on a lot of the spring and has also been put in a pretty tough position to have to play 3 separate parts of the offensive line.
Yeah. No, absolutely. That is a very, very good point there. Now, before I ask you another question, is the tight end position mostly set in your eyes right now?
I guess so. Like, I mean, Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper are locks.
Yeah.
With Hooper coming back today off of PUP. And I thought it was interesting. Brock Lampy was placed on IR today, wasn't at practice, and then was just announced about 30 or so minutes ago that he'd be placed on IR. So with him on injured reserve, Jack Westover took over fullback duties at practice today. So I think maybe Westover would make a push for third tight end, where he kind of plays a hybrid tight end fullback role, since that's who they gave the nod to today. But maybe over the next few days, we see them try Jaheim Bell there. We see them try CJ Dupree there. So I wouldn't say it's solidified, because it's still early on. And I think if you had asked me this yesterday before we knew Brock Lampy would be out for the season, my answer would have been much more open, because I would have no idea who that number 3 guy is. I just think that Westover subbing in at fullback is kind of a hint towards that.
And Jaheim Bell, has he looked better than he did, you think, at the end of last season? He got very few snaps during the season.
Not really.
You think he has a chance to make that roster?
It's a third tight end, so like maybe I don't want to count him out, because I think anyone out of that group of guys could be the third tight end. Like it's CJ Dupree, Jack Westover, Jaheim Bell, and either Gee Scott or G Scott. I don't want to mispronounce his name. Gee Scott. And I thought Scott has looked pretty solid out there. But again, like, all of those dudes are kind of the same caliber-ish. Like, they're all fringe roster guys who one of them might make it. No more than that. So I wouldn't really I can't put one of them ahead of another by that much. Those are all guys who kind of are fringe roster, might make it, might not, and that's where they should be based on how they've played.
Understood. Moving on to the other side of the ball, the defense. What has stood out to you? I know Christian Gonzalez left yesterday, but it does sound like he's going to be day-to-day and okay. Let's start with the defensive line at the moment, and seems like they've been pretty dominant, definitely in one-on-ones. Keon White, gave some trouble to the previous fourth overall pick, Will Campbell, yesterday. How did Keon look today and the rest of the defensive line?
Yeah, the defensive line has been pretty dominant. I guess maybe less so since the pads have come on than they were the first few days. I mean, I think it was the second day, they had like 7 sacks or something ridiculous like that, where the quarterbacks were just every play they were getting pressured. But yeah, Keon White and the rest of the defensive line have looked solid. As you mentioned, White gave Will Campbell some trouble yesterday.
Mhm.
I think it was twice that he just threw Will Campbell down to the ground in one-on-one drills. But also Campbell got him back today, and Campbell went, I believe it was 2-0. Yeah, 2-0 today against the defensive line in one-on-one drills. One of those wins against Keon White, another against K'Lavon Chaisson. So again, like, it's early. I don't want to read too much into anything. The pads have been on for 2 days, but the D-line has looked solid outside of those few one-on-ones today against the rookies. Milton Williams, he's legit. Christian Barmore, we know what he is. K'Lavon Chaisson is looking like an incredible addition to this Patriots team. I think he's probably been the most impressive defender so far, and a guy who has super high potential, drafted in the first round. I don't want to get the year wrong, but probably 5 or so years ago. First round pick in the NFL draft. So a lot of good players in New England on the defense. Yeah, he was drafted in 2020. And I think the potential is high. Still early on. Also, Harold Landry, veteran addition, has looked basically as advertised. I mean, very solid veteran presence who had a lot of great wins early on. So I'm excited to watch that defense, especially against Washington next week, because that's when things are going to get like chippy. And that's where you really separate, the boys from the men, and you see who truly deserves to be on this football team and be a starter on this football team, because that's where jobs are won and lost. You're going up against a whole different football team with very good players and seeing how you perform there.
Gotcha. So sounds good via there. The defensive line, that seems like, again, always been one of the Patriots' strengths since 2019, 2020. Moving on, linebackers and the defensive backs there, with Gonzo leaving, definitely a setback there. But again, as reported by Jordan Schwartz today, he's day-to-day, and it shouldn't affect week 1. Carlton Davis hasn't been there a lot. Do you know what's up with him? And DJ James out of Auburn, the rookie, definitely having a solid camp, like you said.
Yeah, Carlton Davis, I'm Googling it right now because that is something that I probably should know what's up with him, but I don't off the top of my head. But as you said, DJ James, he's had a good camp. He's kind of making it like kind of tough to figure out that DB room, because I think that was a room that was pretty like set in stone, where there are a few guys who are borderline, would they make it, would they not? But I don't think DJ James was really on that list before, and now he is. Still trying to figure this out with Carlton Davis.
I'm looking too, and I'm not seeing anything.
So he was on either NFI or PUP. I think NFI. Before camp started, and then he was there for like a day or so, maybe 2 days, and then I think he got a day off, and I believe Vrabel described it as a veteran's day off, like, oh yeah, just a rest day. But now he hasn't been back since then. So
wow, okay.
I mean, I'm sure it's nothing that big. Like, I wouldn't be too worried about it. but it would be nice if we knew. And maybe that is something that is known, just not something that we know, because I can't find it anywhere.
Huh.
But maybe I'm not looking in the right places. Either way, not great to be a week into camp and be missing your 2 top defensive backs, even if that's just for a few days. But
Yeah.
Alex Austin has looked solid. Marcus Jones has looked solid. Not that Marcus Jones plays the same type of cornerback that Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis do, but either way, I'm not too worried about that DB room, although it is starting to get to that point. But it's both players seem to basically be day to day. I wouldn't put that much thought into it, although it's not great, obviously.
So again, the defense been looking stronger than the offense, you think?
I think it's been pretty back and forth. Like, I guess I put the defense slightly ahead, but what's kind of tempting me to go to the offense is the highlights. Like, Drake May has had a few crazy throws that are just picture perfect. Like, you could not place the ball in any better of a place. I mean, I'm sure everyone has seen the one to Demario Douglas a few days ago where Drake May rolled out of the pocket and flicked his wrist, threw the ball 50 yards downfield, just straight into the bread basket for Demario Douglas. And that seemed to be a kind of missed pickup by Kyle Duggar, which is something that we've heard a lot before. So that wasn't that encouraging. But yeah, I'd give the slight edge to the defense. Also, again, it seems to me from what I've seen that they've been winning a lot of the O-line, D-line one-on-ones. Although I haven't really been able to see those. And although it seems like the offense might have gotten the best of them today, I think overall probably the defense has been in a better spot. But that's something that could change pretty quickly. Plus, it is important to note the defense now is playing without their top 2 corners. So I would say that they had a very good day considering the fact that Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis were out. You can't make up for having those guys out, but they did do a pretty good job of compensating for it.
The Patriots had way too many injuries last year, so I'm definitely hoping that is not the same this year, especially because they have a much easier schedule and they can get to 9-10 wins. And I'm hoping that does not change. So, what else can you tell me about being at camp and anything you can see at camp that's not the same as like me learning on Twitter via reports? Like, is there anything that you just have to see at camp?
It may sound like a bit cliche, and it is also something that I just brought up, but like Drake May's ball placement is just insane. There have been so many throws that I've just been watching from the stands, and it makes me think, how on earth did he get the ball that perfectly placed? It's something you just need to see in person because they couldn't be put in any better of a place, whether that's on the 50-yard go balls or whether it's on like a kind of contested crosser, maybe with a guy underneath or with a guy trailing the receiver. The ball placement on some of these throws have just been ridiculous. And it's something that I've tried to kind of stress in my tweets, like another perfect ball from Drake May, another perfect ball from Drake May. And he hasn't been perfect overall. He's missed plenty of throws, which you don't love to see. But when he's on like nobody else could be. And it is so honestly just fun to see in person how perfectly he's putting these passes, because it's kind of mesmerizing.
Staying on the topic at quarterback, I'm assuming you saw the whole Joe Milton thing. How are the Patriots' depth looking behind Drake May at quarterback?
It's all right. I mean, it's a backup quarterback, or 2 backup quarterbacks, I suppose. You're not expecting them to wow you too much. Ben Wooldridge has probably looked better than I would have expected. Joshua Dobbs has had his moments. There was the throw today to Javon Baker where it was a better catch than it was throw, because Baker just completely mossed Dial, but it was put in a pretty good place for Baker to be able to do that. There was also the throw, I believe it was yesterday, it might have been Saturday, where Dobbs kind of fit it in between 2 defenders, and Pop Douglas made a very good high point catch, really strong hands. Like, there have been a few throws by Dobbs that it doesn't quite hit the same as those Drake May throws that I was talking about, but they have been very impressive just to see the ball placement on some of those.
Moving on just a little bit again, is there anything that you wish you could have seen either drill-wise or individually or via team that hasn't happened yet in practice?
So I'll preface it by saying this. Usually the in-stadium practice, which is the season ticket member, like, exclusive practice inside of Gillette, rather than on the practice field, is a walkthrough scrimmage where they split the team up in 2, and they're doing a scrimmage, but not really. And Mike Vrabel advertised it this year just as the blue and white scrimmage, blue team versus white team, which makes it seem like it's not going to be a walkthrough. It makes it seem like it's going to be real competition. So that's what I am waiting to see. How are these guys going to play? If that's the case, if that's what it is, a real scrimmage, real pads thumping, full contact, or at least mostly full contact type of day, like, that's what I want to see. I want to see how these guys perform when it's a true competitive environment. Because yes, 11-on-11s have been competitive, and they have been like brief drills of a scrimmage, but it's just different when it's advertised as a scrimmage and when the ball is moving up the field rather than staying, oh, you complete a pass in the end zone, now the ball's back on the 20-yard line again. Oh, you complete a 10-yard pass, ball's on the 20-yard line again. Oh, you get stuffed for a 5-yard loss, or you get sacked. Doesn't matter, ball's on the 20-yard line. It's just such a different feeling when the ball is moving how it should be and when the team is really into it. So that's what I'm waiting to see. That's what I'm hoping actually happens. And if not, that should be at least a feeling that's kind of replicated in the Washington Commanders joint practice, where it's not going to be as much of a scrimmage, but it will have that same competitive flair that I'm hoping a scrimmage brings out.
And those practices, for some reason, are almost as, if not more competitive than the preseason games.
By far.
So again, like we said previously, we're going to try to go live as much as we can this week, break down the team and practices as we go on. I think we're going to wrap up shortly here right now. But like I said, thank you for allowing us to be back. I know a couple mistakes today, but that will get better, of course, as we go on. And make sure to read all the latest content on the Patriots Beat, thepatriotsbeat.com. That will be published shortly. And follow Zach's socials, pats.today, and he's going to be at practice. So always great to follow there.
Yeah. Any final question? I mean, I don't know what the stream delay is, in all honesty, so we might be wrapping up by the time anyone gets a question in, but I'll kind of stall, so if anybody does have any final questions, they can get it in the chat real quick. I know that Ken had asked about the receivers, which we touched on a lot. I believe CXM Production on Instagram asked about the fullback position, which we did touch upon as well. He asked if we think the Patriots should give Jaheim Bell a shot at fullback, which you might as well. I mean, you have nothing to lose. It's fullback. I think that's his best chance to make the roster, in all honesty. So that's that. But yeah, I think that's all we got for today. We will be back within, I mean, if not, tomorrow, probably the next day. Yeah. So be sure to be on the lookout for that. Be sure to follow on Instagram, Pats Nation Nightly, and on Twitter, Pats Nation Night is the username. It's actually right down there. And BSEN, follow them too. Yeah, I think that's all we got. Ben, you got any final notes?
Have a good rest of your Monday and a good rest of your week, and we will see you shortly.
Thank you all.